Jesus' closest followers were 12 men known as 12 disciples. Some of them had been fishermen on Lake Galilee in northern Israel. That was a tough way to make a living. They'd be out on the lake throughout the night, sell their catch by day, then mend their nets, and out again the next night. Well, Lake Galilee, it lies 200 metres below sea level, and Mount Hermon, to the north, rises to 3,000 metres. And in summer and autumn, this geography funnels massive winds between the hills, causing sudden violent storms. And during these storms was tough business, and they learnt to cope. It was one of the hazards of their job. They become tough, resilient northern men. Well, Jesus began to teach and even to heal people along their shores. They were very impressed. And then he called them to follow him. And he promised that from now on they'd be catching men. Well, the call was irresistible. They left their nets and they followed him. Other fishermen were Andrew and James and John. They were an unlikely collection, including a hot-head nationalist and Matthew, a tax collector who used to take their hard-earned cash and hand it over to the Romans. However, they got on together as long as they kept their focus on Jesus. They were all out of their depths with him. I mean, he would heal people with a touch, and he'd drive demons out of people with a command, and then he'd take them aside and teach them some brand new things like loving their enemies. Really? But they missed the old familiar tools of trade and the sea breezes in their faces and the rocking of the boat. Well, one day, Jesus told them to get into a boat. And to those fishermen, this is familiar territory. We've finally got something useful that we can do instead of just standing around watching Jesus do all these impossible things. They all got into the boat and he said to them, "Let's go over to the other side of the lake." Great. Fishermen among them come alive. They set the oars, the sail, the rudder, and they are sailing. Well, Jesus finds a comfortable spot near the stern and he falls fast asleep. He must be tired, obviously. Let him rest. We're capable sailors. We can do this job. He's trusting us to get to the other side. He's tired. We fishermen can handle this job. They are loving it. Sailing boats is what they do. Well, apart from the softies among them, like Judas and Matthew, they'll find out what tough fishermen are made of. Well, a breeze rises and waters begin to swell, and their minds go back to the storms that they've survived on Lake Galilee in the past. There's more able-bodied seamen in this boat tonight than any boat they've sailed before. The wind becomes stronger. Whiteheads turn to waves. Wind and waves rise, and so do their powers of coping. They have the experience. Mix in some adrenaline and they are coping. Or are they? There's a lot at stake here. They can't lose face before their peers, but never hear the end of it. They can't handle a storm. They can't handle anything. They'd be useless. Soon they're in the teeth of a full-blown storm. Peter takes charge. So do Andrew and James. Get a bucket, lower the sail, row harder, throw stuff overboard. Everyone's shouting, "Come on, fishermen, do your stuff." I hear them call out, "We'll show you. Throw him overboard." No, no, no. Doubt turns to terror. This is the big one. Turmoil on the water, turmoil in their hearts. It's pitch black. They're off course. They're lost at sea. They don't know where land is. They're not going to make it. Panic sets in. Exhaustion. They thought they could handle storms, even big storms, but not this one. They thought they could do this for Jesus, but Jesus? Someone mentioned Jesus? Oh, they've forgotten about him. In desperation, they all clamour towards the stern, soaked and exhausted and terrified and shamed. And there he is, still sleeping. How could he? They shout, "Master, Master, we're perishing!" He wakes up to the sorry sight of panicking fishermen. Once self-sufficient men, but now here they are calling Jesus Master. And they're right in the middle of the boat that they once mastered. The whites of 12 pairs of wide eyes stare at Jesus through drenched hair. It's a pathetic sight. Well, of course he's sleeping. They didn't need him. Or they thought they didn't. Then why are they calling him Master? Oops. They were trusting in themselves, not in him. They had fooled themselves that Their own efforts were spiritual because they were doing work for Jesus. The boat, the sail, the oars, the wind in their faces, and with peers to impress, and their old pride rose up. Then the superstorm comes along, smashes their pride to pieces, and here they are crying out to their new master, to Jesus, to help them. A boatload of fishermen desperately crying out for help to a carpenter's son in a storm on a lake. Well, if Jesus really is master, then he's not about to drown, and he's in the same boat that they are. They're in the mother of all storms, and here they are looking to their circumstances around them to interpret their fate. They are trusting in their boat, and it's filled with water. They're trusting in their skills, and they're no match for this storm. They're trusting in their strength, and they're completely exhausted. They're trusting in their experience, and it's useless. Trusting in themselves, and they conclude, we are perishing. We're failing in the very thing that we thought we were best at. Their pride is smashed to pieces. Well, Jesus wakes up and he stands up and he speaks, but not to them. He looks right into the eye of the storm and he points at the raging waves and he rebukes them like they are living beings. Immediately the waves obey and calm down. Suddenly the wind, it stops. Everything is completely calm. Their mouths drop open amazed. They are speechless. Then he turns to them with another rebuke. Where is your faith? Panic turns to shame. They had faith all right. Faith in themselves, not in him. When they saw him going to sleep, and they found themselves back in their old familiar world, well, they naturally trusted in what they'd always trusted in before, themselves, their own strength. Not just the wind and the waves raged that night, their pride and their self-reliance raged within them. Their first rebuke had dropped the wind, and his second rebuke smashed their pride. Fear of Jesus rose up within them. He stood towering above them and kneeled down into the wet deck below. They are amazed and they are humbled. They're all back on the same level again, all very low in their own eyes. Who is this, they ask? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him? A thought comes to their mind. If Jesus had the storm in such fingertip control, then maybe he was the one who ordered it to come up in the first place. This was no ordinary storm. Its timing was perfect to teach them a good lesson. They'd waited till they were just out in the middle of the lake, and then wham! Has this been a setup? And they remember a line in their Psalm 107:29, said he stilled the storm to a whisper. The waves of the sea were hushed, and they were glad when it grew calm, and he guided them to their desired haven. They all knew that this was talking about God. Oops! Who is this? That psalm had said that they would arrive at their desired haven. Hadn't Jesus told them that they were going to the other side? Well, left to them, they may not have made it, but left to him, and they look across, and that is exactly where they are, right where he said they were going, to the other side of the lake. They all learned a good lesson that day as they discussed among themselves the question, who is he? And they became the fledgling church, a group of people discussing among themselves the questions, who is Jesus and how is he relevant to our lives?